Alright, so this is our final project for our reading of the Odyssey in English 9 spring semester. Remember that when we read the Odyssey in the last few weeks and had our discussions, we came across the theme of journey. The Odyssey and Odysseus's journey or travels from the Trojan War back to his home. It's not only a physical journey, but also a journey of the mind. Okay, so within his journey, we discovered that there was a lot of struggle, but in Odysseus's case, there was a happy ending of sorts, and we realized through our discussions that life can be beautiful because of the struggles within the journey. So life is a beautiful struggle. All right. So just a quick review of our discussions that we had during our reading of the Odyssey. So the journey is our umbrella theme, and our key word within that is the struggle. Okay? And what we have here are 5 themes that you came up with during our discussions. The theme of loyalty, perseverance, vengeance, spiritual growth, and physical strength versus mental power. When we had our discussions, we came up with a lot of different examples from the Odyssey, the epic poem itself, about that proved that these are indeed themes that are connected to journey and also to struggle. Some of our themes, for example, loyalty, is a coping device that Odysseus used during his journey to deal with his struggle. Okay, so for our final project, we have 2 essential questions. So these essential questions are the things that we're going to be thinking about while we work through our project. The first question is, what is our modern journey and how do we cope with and react to the struggles along the way? Remember that the Odyssey is an epic poem that was composed and then written a long time ago. We're talking about 700 BCE when it was written down. So, wait, what does this have to do with our life now? Okay, so we're going to try to find that modern journey and see if it connects to the themes that we've found in the Odyssey. Also, how can we reflect on the journeys of others to make adjustments within our own? So how can we look at the journeys that other people have in their lives, the struggles that they go through, and say, okay, I can learn a lesson from what has happened to somebody else or how somebody else has dealt with struggle. So basically, applying these essential questions to our modern journey, so our lives, can help us to become better travelers and to contribute to our collective world journey. So looking at being citizens within this world, and we're all on a journey together. Okay, so those are our essential questions. All right, so here's our project. First, you have to find out. So, to find out, you need to interview at least 3 people that you know from outside of the school. So, to do your interviews, you need to pre-write your interview questions, you can make a form, record your interviews on those forms, and have your interviewees sign your completed forms. Okay? So, your goal in the interviews is to find out what kind of life journeys or struggles your friends, families, and neighbors have endured, and how did they survive, cope, or manage to get through those struggles. All right? So that's what you're trying to find. Do the people you interview use love? Do they use loyalty? Do they use, I don't know, chocolate to get through struggles? Some of us do, okay? So that's what you're looking for. Remember to use your skills that you have from last semester when we worked on our To Kill a Mockingbird final project and you were interviewing people in the community for our mock trial. Okay, so remember, you've got those advanced organizers with all of your tips and structures for interviews. So use that knowledge that you have. Okay, we're reviewing. So, second, you need to think about it. So first you find out, you do your research by interviewing people, and now you're going to think about it. After your interviews, look for common themes that arise among the journeys or struggles. So like I said, okay, maybe all three people that you interview, you find out that those people in difficult times, so in struggle, use love as a coping device. So they use the love that they have for people, like Odysseus, the love that he has for Penelope and his son Telemachus. So I'm going to create a thesis based on that evidence, that research from my interviews. And my example thesis I have for you is that it's human nature to use love as a coping device when facing struggle. So I'm making this general thesis, this overall umbrella statement based on my research, the evidence from my research from interviewing real people. All right, third, you need to put it in writing. So you need to write a short piece of poetry that represents your thesis. You can use blank verse, you can use haiku, you can use sonnets, any of those poems that we studied in our last unit. Okay, so we're connecting our units here. You need to use figurative language, imagery, etc. So get out that advanced organizer that you have, that we've been collecting all those literary terms through the year, and refresh your memory, because you need to start incorporating things like metaphor, simile, alliteration, okay? Your piece will be used as narration for a 2-minute video, so you need to be thinking about the length, okay? How is my poem going to fit into a 2-minute video when I read it? Okay, the fourth item now is when you bring it all together. You need to make a 2-minute video that shares your thesis through image and sound. So you've done your research, you've made your thesis, you've written your poem that shares the thesis and the evidence or the examples from your research interviews, and now you're going to put everything together in a video. So you're going to use Microsoft Movie Maker. I have it on all of my computers in my classroom, so you can come to my room before or after school or during homeroom, as long as you make an appointment and get me to sign your hall pass, and use my computers, okay? Think about your images. You want images that represent the research that you've done. So in my example, my thesis was that it's human nature to use love as a coping device when dealing with struggle. So I need to find images that represent love. Okay, that can be anything. I can take pictures. I can take pictures of my people that I interview if they're okay with being a part of my presentation. I can make a video with a digital video recorder. I can find images. I can draw images and scan them and put them in my video. It can be anything you want. But remember, with images, you need to think about symbolism. So things don't have to be, exact. Okay, love means a red heart. Okay, symbolism, color, shape, texture, all of those things. And then, once you have your images, you're going to make a second layer with sound. You need to record yourself reading your piece of poetry that has your thesis and examples in it, and then put that together with the images, so it's like a narration. If you want to make even a third layer of sound, so have like some music that gives the mood, a soundtrack going behind you but quieter, that's totally fine. I mean, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. You have 2 minutes. You just need to bring it all together and represent the research that you found from your interviews. Okay, so what do people do to cope with struggle? What is our modern struggle? Okay, all right, the fifth thing you need to do is post your video on YouTube so everybody can see it. You need to share your link with me, and then we'll watch the videos together as a class and have a discussion following our viewings. 6. Reflect. After our viewing day and our discussion, you'll need to write a one-page reflection on your process through the project, your thesis, any opinions that you have about your thesis or other things that we talked about in our discussion, other ideas that your classmates came up with and shared, and also those essential questions. So how do we cope with struggle? What is our modern day journey? And how can we learn from the journeys of others and apply that learning to our own life? Don't worry about this yet. The handout with the instructions will be given to you after our viewing day, right? So you've got in your hands the directions for this project with this PowerPoint. You have the due dates. Make sure you highlight those due dates. You can see that today's Monday. On Friday, I'm going to check in with you during class and see if you've scheduled your interviews. The following Friday, I want to see your signed interview forms. And then the third Friday, that's when you're going to hand in your link to me. We will have 2 working days during that third week in class for you to be working with Movie Maker on the school computers, all right? Anytime you need to have any questions answered or help with the computer programs or to check out a digital camera from my room, you come on in, okay? All right, so our standards or objectives for the lesson. This is essentially what we're trying to accomplish, our goals, okay? You need to first be comparing works that express a universal theme. So this is what we're working towards. We're going to be comparing the Odyssey and the writing that you do in your own poems based on the research, okay? Seeing how our themes come together. Is the Odyssey something that makes sense for us now in our modern life? Second, you need to work toward understanding and using those literary terms and devices. So in your poetry writing. Third, you need to synthesize information. So that means to bring together information from multiple sources. You're going to be doing this through your interviews. You're interviewing 3 different people. So then you need to bring those 3 interviews together and compare what you found. Fourth, you need to extend ideas in primary or secondary sources through original analysis, evaluation, and elaboration. Okay, so this is creating your thesis or your general statement about journey and struggle and using the evidence from your research interviews to support that thesis. The last objective is to use clear research questions and suitable research methods. So this is our final goal. You need to use the interview methods and techniques that we practiced last semester. So this is a review. It's a way for you to hone in and really get good at that skill of interviewing people. Okay, it's another way to do research and find information rather than just going to the library or onto Wikipedia. Okay, so that's our project, our goals. We've looked at them. We have our essential questions to guide us. Remember, we're looking at what our modern journey is, our modern struggle within that, how we as modern people cope with the struggle and with the journey, and also how we can look at the journeys of others and learn from what other people do and apply that to our own lives so that we can be really productive and citizens who contribute to our world. All right, good luck.